And welcome back. On this one, I'm going to dive into some R32 stuff. But, we have a bit of a digger going on here, and when this all dries out, it's going to be a mad little surprise happening in the backyard here. It's been meaning to happen for a long time. I've just been saving up because it's bloody expensive. But we're going to dump a lot of money into the backyard here, and it's going to be freaking unreal. It's going to be really freaking cool. So that's exciting. But let's get stuck into the R32. Got some progress to show you what I was working on last night. Let's have a look.
Tell me, is it whack up in the air? Rapping scattered off the gear. I can map him, yeah, he is. Like a tracker, get distracted, send him back like in the mail. Not a fraction of them real. Catch him lacking, run the drill. Running through the shit like a motherfucking dage.
I picked up a couple of good deals this morning. Got that $50. It's for me welder setup. Got the door for 150, which is mint as. I got it just for the glass and this piece here. But it's a whole door, it's pretty much perfect. Just got a couple of scratches on it, that's stuffed obviously, and the latch is broken, so I could have just got this door and put it on there. But anyway, I'm transferring it over because this door is almost in here. The S13 has no wing on it now. I took that off, but Zara's pretty mad at me, so I think she wants like a really big wing that mounts like back here, you know, those big huge big wang ones. So we might look at getting that. I took all the stickers off the back window, off the sides. But yeah, the S13 is almost ready. I got to fit the kit, got to get some new wheels, and then that's going to be going back for a paint job, which is pretty freaking exciting. Brad's 180 S13 is up there. My 180's here doing nothing. Got all my Matsuri stickers on cardboard now. I'm going to hang them up somewhere, which is pretty cool. That's the big wing. Oh, I got this whippersnipper as well this morning, $50. Pretty keen. Obviously it's Makita. It's not like the fancy one, there's a couple of different versions, but keen to whack a battery in there and give it a burl. Comes with a strap and everything, it's pretty sick. Old mate was only selling it because someone he knew got a bigger one and sold it to him for cheap as, but gonna give that a burl. The Savo as well. And then we got the R32 here, and I've pretty much got the wiring harness in, waiting on some more freaking parts. Always waiting on parts. If any of you guys are building cars at the moment, you'll know exactly what I mean. Waiting on parts, waiting on parts, waiting on parts. Always. But the wiring. So, actually I'll start over here and I'll just show you. So I bought this fuse box off Blue Automotive Wiring, I think it is. And this is the fuse box here. It's just like, it's one for wiring up hot rods. So it comes with all the fly leads coming off it. Those ones I don't need, so I coiled them up, labeled, and just put them to the side. And then I've ran the ones over that I do need and started fitting them, start terminating them at the lengths that are required. Because this panel here is going to be our switch panel that will go in here somewhere. Need to figure out that, but really cool. Push to start, obviously race car shit. Ignition, and then I'm gonna have left blinker, right blinker, both of them on at the same time to make the hazards work. Wipers, yeah, windscreen wipers, just be one speed. The headlights and underglow. It's pretty much all the priorities there. And then when you switch it on, this light at the top illuminates as well, which is really cool. So that's going on. But with the R32, I stripped every piece of wire out of this thing, like everything, just gutted the whole thing, and then starting fresh. The OEM wiring, like the Nissan wiring, is good, but there's so much wiring in there that's not needed. There's just a shit ton, like so much. Like those buckets over there around the corner here are just completely full of just wiring, so much wiring that you don't need. So I started fresh, and I can wire it up myself. I know exactly where everything is, what color everything is, and I'll just know. I like to do the DIY shit, as you probably know, and I like to know which wire is going where, and if I start hearing a noise, or if I, not so much for wiring, but if I start having an issue, like maybe with something at the back not working, I know exactly where to start looking. Whereas if you take it to a shop, which a lot of people do that when they don't have space to work on the car, they don't have the confidence, they don't want to touch the car, and you take it to a shop, that's fine. But if you do that, they work on the car, they should know everything about it, and then if you have an issue, you're not going to know where to start. You're playing with someone else's wiring or whatever it is, playing with someone else's work, which makes it difficult to fault find. But I have started doing the wiring, and I used to do wiring with soldering, so stripping it back, solder it together. But just recently, mate Nick, shout out to you mate, thank you, he suggested I use the little crimps, which is like the same what they use on OEM, and they use it on high-end racing. Pretty much all wiring harnesses now, they use these little crimps. I'll show you. They've been using them forever, but for some reason, maybe they weren't accessible in the past, but for some reason solder was always said to be better. But no, this is actually better. You don't have any dry joints, you don't have any like weak points, and it's really cool. So this is what it looks like when it's crimped together. So you may have seen that before. It's basically exactly what they have in the stock harness. So it's a little crimp that you have crimpers, and it just squeezes down and compresses and squeezes the cable, and it can't come out there. These ones here, I forgot to trim the side off there and fix them up later, but that's how it should look there, like that. Once you get the hang of it, it's actually like so fast and easy. And what I've got here is you got your tail lights on the back. Mind you, might I add, the R32 tail lights are like my favorite tail lights out of anything. They look so sick, just simple 2 round circles that look amazing lit up. Got the tail lights here and the blinkers or indicators, whatever you want to call it, and I have a 7-wire trailer wire, 7-core trailer wire, just going from here to the front where that switch panel is, and then I have another one going from here around to this light. And so to figure out what colors do what, you can look at the wiring diagram, or you can just hook up a little 12 volt battery, a little 18 volt battery off your tools, and just plug some wires in, negative to black usually, and then you can just touch the wire with the live, and you'll see a light illuminate, and then you can figure out what's what. I did on my Instagram, if you guys were watching that you would have seen. But also I had a couple of spare wires going that way, so I've also, in the same wire, I've got the trigger for the fuel pump and the fuel sender. So 2 wires off there will go back around to the front as well. And then I've got a little box here that I'm going to have my relays in. So this is going to go somewhere else. That's just an isolator, a kill switch. But I'm going to have these big heavy duty relays with the big terminals on them, because these fuel pumps, they must draw a lot of current. It'd be interesting to see the difference on these new ones actually. But in the past, when I've had the Bosch O44s, they did draw a lot of current and get pretty hot, and the wiring actually melted, so I had to upgrade to these big boys. So if I just do that first straight away in this, then I won't have any dramas with that. Better to be like a little bit overkill with this sort of shit with wiring, because you don't want it melting. But I got this container here to try and keep everything in there. There'll be a 3-way fuse block in there as well, waiting on that to come. Probably won't use the lid, but if I do, I'll like make it slotted so that there's air vents. But that's going to be there to control the fuel pumps. And then these wires that come around, the tail lights and everything, they all come around here, and they continue along past the seat here, and they go up over the dash to here, which is going to be the switch panel. So you'll switch the lights. You have and then, so say for instance you got your headlights wire comes to here, and then from here on the other side of the switch it goes around to your fuse panel, which you will have a headlights. So the headlights fuse is about this one here, and it'll come to here, and then on the other side of the fuse you'll have your main power, so that will come back around, and then I'll have like an isolator switch here somewhere, and then that will have power from the battery. So that was talking a bit in reverse, but basically that's the circuit for a basic headlights. But that's for the, obviously when your headlights come on. So that's headlights, which will do the tail lights as well, obviously. But that's what I'm doing next. I'm going to do all the headlights now. And with this sort of situation, you can go about it a couple of different ways. You've got the special Nissan plugs. They're not like special, but the headlight ones are pretty hard to get if you want to buy them secondhand. But if you want to buy them brand new, but I'm sure you can get them from somewhere. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to reuse the plugs, so they will be around here somewhere. They're on that side. I'm going to reuse the Nissan plugs that plug into your headlights and your blinkers and all that, and I'm just going to crimp onto the wires that are already sticking out with a pin on there. You could go one step further and you could unpin it from the plug, buy new pins, crimp it onto the pin and put the pin into the plug, but like probably should do it that way. It's not a big deal. I'm just going to have a crimp just next to that. You'll see in a minute, but that's the next step. Do the headlights loom, bring the wires around and link them up to here, and then I can wire them into the switch panel. And then hopefully after that, the next thing will be doing the dash. So I'm going to show you what dash I'm going to be running. It's not going to be Heltec because it's just way too expensive for what it is. It's going to be another really cool thing, so we'll get to that soon. That's a lot of talking, so let's get into some actual wiring. It's going to be hard to film, but that's where we're at. Let's get into it. Also, if you're new here to the channel, hit the like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe. If you didn't know, we got merchandise as well on the link in the description below. So I've got the R32 merchandise shirt on right here. There's a bunch of other ones for the S13, 180, and yeah, check them all out. Probably gonna do some new designs soon, so make sure if you do like this design you buy one now, because they'll probably get discontinued and we'll have some new designs, some fresh ones. Freaking cool is this car, man. Like, they just nailed it with the design on everything. It's so sick. Dreams are being made here, dreams are being made. So what I was talking about before, headlights wiring, we have these funky looking little plugs which are for your headlights, and this is what it looks like with the headlight connected. These are the old school Nissan ones, not old school but 90s, and yeah, to replace that plug it's going to be difficult to find and expensive probably, so I'm going to reuse that. You could pop off this cap and repin them. There'll be like a pin or a connection, whatever you want to call it. Like, these ones are super gunked up. This is your blinkers or your indicators, but I'm just going to clean them out as best I can. It'll still work fine. And then yeah, two wires on here. One's going to be ground most likely, and one's going to be power. So we'll figure that out how it works, and then yeah, we'll wire it in. I'm just going to crimp onto the back of here, but I'll plug them into the lights, test it out, make sure I got the right ones. I've got the wire running through here, comes around to here, so I'm going to strip that off and crimp it into the wires on there, the right ones, and then it comes around here. I'm going to chop that, and there's going to be a join here that splits onto the connectors for this light, and then it goes under the wheel well and then back in there. So yeah, basically trying to do it all as good as I can, but also not going to the extreme where I'm like refreshing the whole connection, which should be fine. It should work good. So yeah, let's lay it out, strip it back, and do some crimping. So this is basically what I was talking about earlier with the Makita battery. You got positive and negative. You can shove a wire into the terminal there, and then you got yourself a little portable battery that you can test with. I pulled that plug out and had a look, and you can see the black wire here goes to that pin there, goes to this one here, so I know that's positive, that's negative. But just to check it out, I hook up this wire to here, turn it off and on, and we have indicators. Freaking sick, mate. Pretty sick. So now I know that this is ground and this is live, so I pretty much connect all the grounds up together, take them all back, and we'll have one ground point in there that is nice and clean and straight to the chassis, gets a good ground. And then the live wire here, I'll pick a color on that wire and we'll label it at that end. So the blinkers are easy. We'll wire this one up now. Alright, so really cool tool is a wire stripping tool. There's a couple of different types. These are the ones I use and they're freaking sick. You can even use them to strip off the outside sheathing on a wire like this. So one click on this side, another click on this side, and it's stripped it off. Twist it around so it breaks free, and then you slide it off. This wire's a bit more difficult. This trailer shit, it doesn't like to come off easy. But it does come off eventually. There we go. So yeah, you slide it off. It's a bit tight, this trailer wire shit. It kind of like, it's a bit stretchy. I think it's so like, with trailers the wiring's close to the ground or some shit, I don't know. I'm guessing that they want it to be stretchy so it doesn't break. But you get that shit off, and then you got all your wires. Now because I'm creating this this wiring harness, I can just pick whatever colors I want. As long as I know which colors at each end, it's fine. But I'm kind of trying to keep like a standard going, so the tail lights at the back there, I'll use the same colors I use for those for the front here, so that it's a little bit easier to figure out, and it will look nicer as well, even though you won't see it. But yeah, one of those things. So I just checked, and the rears I used green for the blinkers, so I'm going to grab my green wire. I'm going to strip off a little bit like this, bam, flick the rubbish in the bin, straight in the bin. And then our other wire, which is on our light, and conveniently enough I can take the plug off and easily get to this, we are going to connect this with a crimp. So what we do, you get your two wires here like this. You want to be as prepped as possible before you get to this stage. So what you want to actually do, so these are your little crimps. There's a couple of different sizes of these. I have no idea what size this is. I just grabbed a small and a big size. I actually ordered all this shit offline, so I didn't know what I was buying. But what you do, you cut this little crimp off. It's very tiny and my camera's really shit, so sorry for making it hard to see. But it's just like a tiny little crimp here. And then you get, this is my new crimping tool, pretty cool. You get the crimps, you put the crimper into the right size, like that, and you have it in there ready to go. So I'm gonna put my wires in there and I'm just gonna squeeze down. So I'm gonna get my two wires, my crimps here, slide the wires in, don't need to twist them or anything like that. Make sure they're both all the way flush. And then just crimp it down so it's tight. And what you end up with is this little crimp on the end, and then we just trim off the excess, bam, like that. And then what you end up with is a crimp that looks like this. And that there is a million times better than soldering, and it's a lot faster too, which is really cool. And you also do your crimps all facing the same way, so like exactly how I've done it. You know what the shittest thing is? Your camera doesn't focus, eh? There we go. And you do all the wires pointing the same direction like this, and then with this wire it's going to be going straight ahead. So, and then you end up with a bend like this, and you heat shrink that as well. And that way there's no tension being put on the actual joint, it's on the wire, and the wire is stronger than the joint. So that's the professional way to do it apparently, and that's the way we are doing it. So pretty cool. well, I didn't film much because it's actually pissing down rain and it sounds like shit on camera. And the time-lapse thing is really difficult with this wiring because you can't really time-lapse it because it takes so long to do anything, because I'm kind of figuring it out as I go, obviously. So yeah, I ended up running the battery, that Makita battery, to this headlight, and it turned on for a second and then it blew. So yeah, probably too much voltage or too much current there for that light. I mean, too much current. And yeah, we popped it, but turns out they were stuffed anyway. They were just two odd ones, like one in there and one there. They're different lights and shit, so I have to get new ones anyway. But yeah, just note to self, you can't use the Makita battery trick on the headlights. Too powerful, mate, just too much power. Also, I mounted the little light bar that I got here on the R32. Light bar is going to be this size, pretty much the biggest one that will fit in there. It's going to do the trick. It's nice and it's going to look sick once the car's together. And that grille, I don't know exactly how I'm going to do the front of this. Hey, like, I've got the stock bonnet there, or hood, whatever you want to call it, and I was thinking about just cutting it across here and putting in some sort of grille in there and just making it work. Because if you want to, that's to make it look like the GTR, that's what the difference is. But there's not only that difference, there's heaps of differences. Like the headlights are different, the guards are different, and this Rio is different as well. So if you want to change the GTR, you have to change all those things. But I'm gonna just cut that and then make some kind of grille, or get a grille and then modify it to fit the lights or some shit, I don't know yet, and fit this light bar. It'd be cool if it all just like looked how it should. That's the end goal with that. But the wiring, I did the wiring in here, wiring over there. It's actually way less than what I thought it was. I'm only actually hooking up the low beam because my high beam is going to be low beam plus the light bar. That's the high beam, so I'm not worried about the high beam wire. And then just one wire for the blinker that's over in the corner here. So it's only two lights, because the other ones are your parkers, which I'm not going to worry about, and high beam, so those aren't needed. And then there's some other driving light in here as well, but don't need that. I think there's two for parkers, but yeah, don't need those. So yeah, there's only two lights here, and because you're supposed to run like a thick gauge wire for the lights, I've just ran one wire that goes all the way to that light and one wire that goes to this light. Just choose different colors on there, and then it should be thick enough to run that. I will have to put a relay in here though, I think. Like, I could probably get away with not doing it, but I probably should put a relay in here for the headlights, just so I don't melt the wires. But yeah, I don't know, see what happens. And then that light bar wiring had its own harness and shit, really nice braided shit that I need to buy some of that to put over the whole harness. And it's got a relay for that light bar, which makes sense. And then it's got this little switch that I put in, and yeah, it's gonna fit nicely just on the dash there. I'm not going to use any of these stock switches. They're actually pretty shit anyway, like especially this headlights one. They just burn out and contacts aren't very good. But it looks cool, so I'm going to leave it there. Next thing I got to do, that's the wiring there for the front harness for the headlights, so I've got to wire that into the switch panel along with those wires into there, figure out if I'm putting relays in, and then the dash, put the dash in next. So I think that's the next thing. Let's have a look at that.